All right, today we are diving deep into parasitology. We're talking about the unseen world of organisms that live on and in all of us. Yeah, it's this whole universe of dependence that's happening right under our noses, and we're going to explore it together.
So let's start with a really big question. Are we ever truly alone? I mean, from the bacteria in our gut to the world all around us, organisms are constantly interacting with each other. So what do those connections actually look like?
Okay, here's the game plan for today. We're going to break this down into 5 parts. We'll start with how organisms live together, then look at the different kinds of relationships they form, the good, the bad, and the neutral. Then we'll get to know the parasites and their hosts, figure out how they get around, and most importantly, learn how we can protect ourselves. Sound good? Let's get into it.
So before we jump straight to the parasites, we got to understand the bigger picture. How did different species even manage to live together in the first place? Well, it all boils down to one fundamental concept.
And that idea is called symbiosis. Now, put simply, it just means the long-term interaction between two different species. And we're not just talking about coexisting, like living in the same neighborhood. This is a really close relationship that can end up benefiting one or even both of the partners involved.
But here's the thing. Living together isn't always a happy, feel-good story. Symbiosis is actually a whole spectrum of relationships, and they can range from being super beneficial for everyone to being, well, downright harmful.
You can really break it down into 3 main types. First up, you've got mutualism. This is a total win-win, where both species get something good out of the deal. Then there's commensalism, which is more of a one benefits, the other one couldn't care less situation. And finally, the one we're focusing on today, parasitism. This is the classic win-lose where one organism thrives at the direct expense of the other.
A perfect example of that win-win mutualism is the relationship between bees and flowers. It's beautiful, right? The bee gets nectar to make honey, and while it's doing that, it pollinates the flower, helping it reproduce. Both partners get something absolutely essential for their survival. It's like this perfect biological bargain.
All right, now let's zoom in on that win-lose relationship, parasitism. It's time to meet the main characters in this drama, the parasite and its home, which we call the host. So what exactly is a parasite? It's an organism that pretty much depends entirely on another living being, the host, for its survival. It moves in, sets up shop, siphons off nutrients, and just thrives, almost always causing some kind of harm in the process.
And the home, or maybe the victim in this scenario, is the host. The host is the organism that provides everything the parasite could ever want: food, shelter, a safe place to grow. You can think of the host as a very unwilling landlord in this whole biological arrangement.
Now, not all parasites live in the same place. We categorize them by where they set up shop. An endoparasite, like a tapeworm, lives inside the host's body. This leads to what we call an infection. On the other hand, an ectoparasite, like a tick or a louse, lives on the outside surface of the host, and that causes an infestation. So remember, inside is infection, outside is infestation. It's a simple but really crucial distinction.
Hosts can also have different jobs, depending on where the parasite is in its life cycle. The definitive host is the big one. It's where the parasite finally grows up and reaches sexual maturity. You can think of it as the main event. The intermediate host, though, is more like a nursery. It's where the parasite hangs out during its younger larval or asexual stages, just waiting to develop.
So if a parasite absolutely needs a host to survive, you gotta wonder, how does it get from one host to another? This brings us to the fascinating and sometimes kind of creepy world of transmission and the vehicles parasites use to travel.
A lot of the time, the sources are things we encounter in our everyday lives. Contaminated soil, water, or even food can all be hiding parasites just waiting for a new host to come along. And yep, even other people or things like clothing and bedding can pass them on, which is exactly why basic hygiene is so important.
But some parasites need a special delivery service. We call this a biological vector. And a vector is way more than just a taxi. It's actually an essential part of the parasite's life cycle. The parasite has to develop and mature inside the vector before it can be passed on. The classic example, a mosquito carrying the malaria parasite. The mosquito isn't just giving it a ride, it's a living incubator.
Now, in contrast to that, you have the mechanical vector. This one is just a taxi. It physically moves the parasite from point A to point B, and that's it. No development happens inside it. The perfect kind of gross example is a fly landing on some contaminated stuff and then landing on your lunch. Simple, but super effective.
Okay, so understanding how these little critters live and travel isn't just a cool science lesson. It's literally the key to protecting ourselves. This brings us to the most practical and important question of all. How do we prevent and control them?
Well, the strategies are actually pretty logical when you think about it. It's all about creating barriers between us and them. Things like good environmental sanitation, making sure we have safe drinking water, practicing food safety like cooking meat all the way through, and of course good old personal hygiene, especially hand washing. And finally, controlling those vectors, like mosquitoes and ticks. These are all incredibly powerful tools we can use to stay healthy.
When you look at the whole picture, parasites are incredible survivors. I mean, they have adapted over millions of years to thrive in some of the most challenging conditions imaginable. And that really leaves us with a final thought. If parasites have absolutely mastered survival, then our job is to master awareness and prevention. It's a constant effort for sure, but it's one that's absolutely essential for our health.